Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Now that we've had pretty much the entirety of Black Ops 6 Multiplayer revealed, at least the core details, the core features, mechanics, stuff like that revealed to us, we have a pretty good expectation of what we're going to have on day one for the multiplayer experience this year. We obviously had Call of Duty Direct take place. We got some MP intel there. We had the whole Call of Duty Next event. We got even more intel there. And then of course, throughout the two beta weekends, we actually had hands-on experience. So we got to test out weapons and attachments and how everything was going to be set up there. You might have noticed, like I did though, that one particular thing that has been very popular for the past year or so within Call of Duty was actually missing in the Black Ops 6 beta, and also missing from any announcements or any reveals that we've had regarding multiplayer thus far. And that feature is aftermarket parts. Now, of course, this is pretty much a new feature to Call of Duty. We had like some trial ones, if you will, in MW2 where you could put on some strange attachments and like one-off attachments, and they'd change a few things here and there. Like I think the X13 Auto had one that would change it, or the X12, one or the other, but it wasn't really a significant thing. And then Modern Warfare 3 dropped, and it was a big feature. It was a big draw for multiplayer. Hey, we've got aftermarket parts. You can put these on a weapon as a conversion kit, and it essentially changes the weapon entirely, almost making one weapon turn into two completely different ones. And they've been a big thing every single season all year long. A new season comes, and we get anywhere between, 5, 6, 7, 8 new aftermarket parts between the weekly challenges and then the ones that just debut with like the seasonal update in the mid-season update. And well, sure, we've had a lot of gimmicky aftermarket parts, some kind of useless ones that really aren't realistic or competitive in any sense. We've also had some very cool ones, and ones that were used a lot in multiplayer or a lot in Warzone. And personally, I love the system. I think it adds more variety to weapon builds. Obviously, a lot of them performing like entirely different weapons sort of adds to the weapon pool as is and gives you something else to use. And then, like I said, some of them actually truly were competitive and are competitive, so it adds in more diversity to the overall meta as well. And it was a system that I think got a lot of players coming back season after season to check out the new aftermarket parts, or even week after week to go through and unlock them through the weekly challenges. And yet, they are nowhere to be found in Black Ops 6, despite being a pretty significant part of MW3 that generally seemed to be well received. So why is that? Well, I think one answer to that question could be just simply the development differences between the two games. Modern Warfare 3 started and ended its development all within the time that Black Ops 6 was already being developed. We know Black Ops 6 is the first ever 4-year developed COD. It's been being worked on since 2020. Modern Warfare 3 was developed in like 16 or 18 months, something like that, basically half the time. So as they went through and were creating Modern Warfare 3 and they came up with the aftermarket parts idea and started working on those and designing them and then eventually implementing them into the game, well, Black Ops 6 multiplayer was well underway by then. They had their weapons drawn out, they had their weapons designed and planned, and so maybe it just wasn't a concept that even existed when it was first being, created and first being developed. Now, in the time since, sure, they might have had some things change and they realized, oh, aftermarket parts are a big thing. And it's quite possible that maybe we get a future announcement regarding these, or within these seasonal updates for Black Ops 6, we start to see these added in. However, there's been some response from a dev in particular from Treyarch that I think almost indicates aftermarket parts are already being canceled, or at least changed in a major way that make them not so much aftermarket parts, but more so a standard function within the game itself. So Detonated, site ran by DK Dynamite, fellow YouTuber, fellow COD creator, ended up posting about the XMG LMG, and when you were running this, there was an attachment you could end up unlocking. I think it was one of the barrels pretty late into the leveling there that actually turned it into what is essentially a hipfire only LMG, right? Very reminiscent of the Hades crossbar operator mod from Black Ops 4. Now, if you played Black Ops 4, you're probably familiar with this system. If you did not play Black Ops 4, which I'm sure a lot of you probably didn't, since, MW 2019 brought this huge resurgence to Call of Duty and its player base, really, right? But within Black Ops 4, we had these things known as operator mods. And these, in a way, were like the very early functioning aftermarket parts. Shout out to the Call of Duty, fandom, like wiki, whatever. It actually has a lot of them listed from the BO4 lifespan in various different weapons had these, but they were much more basic attachments than what we have with aftermarket parts. Like on the Vapor, the operator mod was a bayonet. Not that crazy, but we did have like a bayonet aftermarket part this year. There was Echo Fire that turned it into a 2-round burst, so similar to an aftermarket part. Quad Shot, again, like turning a 4-round burst from a weapon that was fully auto, kind of like what we got going on the Rival 9. A super rapid fire for the Spirit Fire. And, believe it or not, things that would add in like ultra screen shake, like the Titan Oppressor mod, where if you were shooting near an enemy, their screen would start shaking and bouncing all over the place. Like there were some super obnoxious ones, but then things like the crossbar for the Hades that added a horizontal grip, which gave you a basically hip fire, like super accurate. So very similar to certain things that we've seen through aftermarket parts, and now through just basic attachments in the Black Ops 6 beta. And Matt Scrontz, with the associate director at Treyarch, you've probably seen him in a lot of the direct stuff and a lot of their promo, because he's done a lot of informational little posts and videos for BO6 thus far. He actually said, in response to some Hades crossbar remake footage with the XMG, we've got some fun stuff planned inspired by operator mods built into Gunsmith and attachments. So this confirms that not only are we going to have like a Hades replica with the crossbar within Black Ops 6 multiplayer, but we're going to see other operator mod like attachments as well. Now, who knows if it'll be similar to the exact ones that we just talked about from Black Ops 4, obviously with Wildfire and Belt Fed and whatever else, right? Or if it'll be some new designs here and there. It's probably going to be a mixture of both, if I'm being honest, but this does confirm that essentially the aftermarket part system is not necessarily fully there. Instead, it's just going to be basic attachments or unlockable attachments. Not entirely sure how I feel about that if aftermarket parts truly are not coming back. I love the idea of having very dynamic, very, groundbreaking attachments that completely redesign how a weapon works and how a weapon feels, like essentially changing the weapon from one basic one into two completely different style weapons. I think that's really cool, as I mentioned at the start of the video, but it is interesting that they take a system that was really well received within MW3 and shift it into just being leveling attachments. So at level 45, you get one for a rifle that turns it into a 4-round burst, or you get an SMG that then becomes belt fed, or whatever else they end up coming up with. I'm sure, again, much like aftermarket parts, there will be some that are really useful and absolutely like a meta build for the weapon, then others that are extremely gimmicky, like maybe a bayonet or, a certain burst that doesn't really do much for a weapon that probably shouldn't be bursting in the first place. But we pretty much have it confirmed that this is an intended system for basic attachments and basic functions within the gunsmith. So we'll have to wait and see if aftermarket parts end up being their own separate thing, or if this is just now a fundamental part of Gunsmith and create a class. Either way, if the idea exists that you can drastically change how weapons behave and feel with certain attachments, I think that's fun, but I feel like they had something going with aftermarket parts, so kind of torn on this. Would love to get your thoughts and opinions on this down in the comments below. But that being said, that is how Black Ops 6 is making a pretty drastic change to a core system that we just had within MW3. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Would love to hear from you guys down below. While you're down there, if you enjoyed the video, a like rating really does help promote the channel and share the video around to new viewers. And if you are one of those new viewers, or maybe you have not subscribed yet, every single day, this is the place to be to stay up to date with everything going on in Call of Duty, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.